Hey, everybody, Pastor Shane here. I want to welcome you to Family Foundations. We're talking with my friend Cody. Cody is the next gen pastor at Kamloops Alliance Church, and he's doing ministry, everybody from little kids right up to young adults. So we want to chat with him today, specifically about what he is seeing in the lives of his Christian teens that are coming to his student ministries program. So, Cody, thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me, Shane.
What are you actually seeing as some of the challenges that our young people, youth, are actually facing here today?
Yeah, I think like two big ones for me that I would see, and really they haven't. For me, I don't think they've changed for years. I think a big one is just like the quest for identity with young people. Right, they're at a stage in life where they really want to figure out who they are. And I think where the challenge is right now is in our culture, in our society, when there's like so many different things that kind of pour into that and saying, hey, well, you can be this, you can be this, you can be literally whatever you want today. You have just a lot of confusion. So you've got this challenge of wanting to have your identity that's steeped with like this individuality, like you can do whatever you want, be who you are. But then you've got this challenge of also going with friendships being like, well, if like be you, but don't be so much you that you don't fit with me anymore. And so there's just like this factor of really trying to balance that tension of well, am I being too much myself? Can I still fit in? I just see that so much in some of our young people, and I think too with that, like even the social media pressures that kind of build into that as well. I would say like in no way, shape or form am I like anti-social media. I actually think we should look at it with more of a redemptive lens than what we maybe do. But yeah, I think there's just like so much at young people's fingertips right now, like way more than you and I ever had. Like we were still dealing with dial-up for a while. But now they can literally have like their best friend in their pocket if they want to. And you just see, lots of stats around social media as well, but all of this just plays into like wanting to find some sort of identity. I think that's just a big challenge with a lot of young people today.
So that identity seems like some of that pursuit for identity. Are you finding that a lot of that is actually found in like digital world, like almost to the point whereas they feel like they are who they are as they express digitally, but maybe in person, maybe they don't know who they are as much?
Yeah, I think I'd say there's probably a blend with that. That's a great question. Um, I think that at times I've maybe seen it the opposite way, where like they feel like they have to try so hard and present so hard online that when you get them in person and you're actually talking with them, you actually really get to see who they want to be as opposed to who they think they should be. And so that's where the challenge is for them is like they know deep down like what like who they want to be and how they should be acting or whatever it is, but then because they also want to appeal to friends and other people, they have to be a certain way, which really is just it's so interesting if you think about like the be you sort of factor of it. I was reading a book, great book for anyone to read. It's called Faith for Exiles. Barna Research does it, and yeah, Kinnaman's so great. And they have this line of in there that goes something like, in the quest for like individuality, we've just created carbon copies of whoever it is we want to be like, but we've masked it as like this is who I am, and
hence why the YouTube influencers are so popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is what young people actually want to do for career now.
Yeah,
they want their job to be a YouTube influencer.
Yeah, just let me play video games and Twitch and stream and talk and do all that. So, yeah.
So what are you maybe seeing that you would maybe label as worrisome, things that are being lived out in teens' lives today?
Yeah. So as I was thinking about this one, I actually talked to my wife as well. She's a high school teacher here in Kamloops. And one of the things that we were kind of talking about, that from her side of things anyways, was like worrisome in the sense of like relational sort of expectations. There's a lot of stats and stuff that would show that like the physicality in relationships among young people is actually going down, which is mostly because they don't hang out as much together anymore because of technology. But what's been heightened in that is like the desire for like sexting and like send me pictures and stuff like that. And so that's really worrisome to me, because you've got these young people who don't fully understand, like they're like developmentally they can't even understand like the ramifications of something like that. So you've got pictures going through the web, and once they're out there, right?
Yeah.
Like we've had to have several conversations with students about like Snapchat, where it's like, hey, it's famous for like you take a picture, it disappears. And it's like, no, you send that, it like disappears for you, but it still is out there, and there's just a lot of damage that comes. So that's a pretty worrisome one to me, right? As that pressure builds, and the accessibility to all kinds of things like porn and stuff gets more and more available, and starts younger and younger. Like my youngest is in grade 2, and as I was dropping him off at school, there was like these grade 4, 5, 6 students coming out, and just hearing what they were talking about, and I was like, my goodness, like my heart broke for them, because I was like, you guys are like, you're developing habits right now that are just going to wreck your ability to relate later on in life. And
Not to mention, it's probably way too early.
yeah, yeah,
That is one of the things I had talked about in a past vlog, that when do we start having conversations about sexuality with our kids?
yeah,
And
yeah,
to me, it's when our peers, the kids' peers, are online, because
yeah,
that
yeah,
starts bringing things in that most likely these kids have no idea about, but it's now
yeah,
accessible to them. So you
yeah,
now have to be so proactive as a parent to talk about
yeah,
these things. But
yeah,
why on earth, a 10-year-old, like, he should be out building a fort in the backyard. He should be, having
yeah,
to have some of these conversations and stuff
yeah,
that they're having. It's just unreal.
yeah. It's absolutely, it's good. I did, I remember doing like a night where we were talking about this at youth with our grades like 6 to 9 students, and I had some parents that were like, are you sure we should be talking about this? Like, like, wouldn't this maybe make them want to go search some things? And I was like, no, actually, like they probably already are. So like, newsflash, they probably
Yeah.
already are, and they actually don't feel like they can talk to anyone about it, which seems to be the story. So that'd be like an encouragement to parents, is like, it is like the more you talk about it, the more beneficial it actually is for your students. So
Yeah.
I'd say for me, as I thought about this question too, Shane, what I love about young people today is this desire and this heart they have for like action and justice. And like I just see, like all the things we've seen in the past year, whether it was like social justice or all kinds of different things. I just see this desire in this generation, unlike maybe like yours and mine, where like we love to talk about all the changes we wanted to make, but we never would actually do anything about it. This generation is a generation that like, no, they're going to jump into action. We had a school here in Kamloops where this girl got sent home because what she was wearing possibly would have made like one of her teachers uncomfortable. But if you saw the picture of what she was wearing, you were like, what is wrong with that teacher? But the whole school rallied behind her, and they all walked out the next day. And we're like, hey, we're not like, we're standing behind the student. And so I love that action side of things with students, but where it becomes worrisome to me is that in a society that does really pay so much attention and loves like the freedom of individual expression, is the reality is like those two don't really live together nicely, right?
Mhm.
You can't have, do whatever you want and it's totally fine, coupled with there's right and wrong. And so that there you see that, and you just see so much like hatred and like conflict, which it really is like, it's our cancel culture right now, where it's like, if you say something or do something that I really don't like, I'm just going to cancel you, you're done. And so much of that is like, okay, but if you just actually had a conversation with someone and processed it and worked through it, you could actually have great benefit from this. So to me, that's a bit of a worrisome norm that I've been seeing, just real high into cancel culture. And like, we've lost the art of having of a discussion where we can disagree but still be okay.
Yeah, because it seems like so much of it too is just bandwagon, getting like used to, the peers are getting on this, but
Yeah,
how can we teach our kids actually to think critically about some things where they
yeah,
actually understand what their conviction is based upon? Otherwise, they
yeah.
just jump on some things, right? Like even this morning, I was told of an individual that I know of that works for a school board,
Mm.
and this individual liked something on Facebook, and the school board has now suspended him just because he liked something on Facebook
Yeah,
that
yeah,
didn't necessarily align maybe with the school board's thinking, right? Like, that's just where our world is, right? But how do we
yeah,
get our kids to think critically about these types of things?
yeah, absolutely.
So where do parents, what do they need to do here in the
Yeah.
lives of your Christian teens? What are you seeing that they need? What from their parents?
Honestly, parents, like, the biggest need your students, young people need from you is to be present and be active. Like, uh, we have this kind of thing going on with parents right now, where it's very much of like, I'm going to drop them off at the church. Church will do what they do, and I can be pretty hands off. Like, I'm going to send them somewhere. I mean, it's like school. I'm going to send them to school. They're going to learn there. I'm going to send them to church. They're going to learn there. But the reality is that, like, the number one primary, like, discipler in a student's life is mom and dad. And so they need you to be present. They need you to be active. I think going with that is parents doing the hard work of actually becoming informed on what is actually going on in like youth culture right now, because so much of like the tension when these conversations happen is like, you've got two different groups speaking two different languages and probably talking about the same thing, but there's just so much of like, well, I don't understand what you're saying. So I say parents, like, become informed, like, do your research to kind of think through, well, what are they kind of going on? I'm reading through this book right now. It's called 10 Questions Every Teen Should Ask and Answer About Christianity. It's by Rebecca McLaughlin, and it's just great. It's like I said, 10 questions that just covers a wide range of topics, and it's written for teens to actually read. But as I'm reading through it, I'm going, okay, for the parents in my ministry, I want them to actually like be reading this with their students,
Right.
so that they can have those conversations together, and just as a really kind of good tool. So I'd say, yeah, parents, like, what they really need from you is like, be present, be active. The Deuteronomy like 6, like, like, you like, what does it say? It says, you know, talk about like all of these things with your kids, write them on your hearts and your doorposts. Like, they're like, let that saturate your conversation. And I think that's what students really need from parents right now.
Yeah, that's, I think you're right on there, Cody. In our last episode, we chatted with a Tyler who works with Youth for Christ, and his specific thrust was talking about non-Christian kids, and that's the
Mm,
trend that he's seeing in non-Christian kids. Mom and dad are not at all around.
yeah.
So it's this is something where, for the future of our kids, if we want our kids to love Jesus and be able to follow him his whole life, mom and dad, we need to be there to teach our
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, you're right on, Cody. I really appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for your insights, and God bless you on what you're doing there in Kamloops. Again, thank you so much, Cody, for your time and your insight. There are a few things that Cody mentioned that are worth our time as parents to reflect upon. You see, it's always been a challenge for Christian teens to wrestle with their identity. In God's word, it says that they're one thing, yet so many of the messages of the world, it actually says contrary. And in today's oversaturated digital environment, it creates extra layers of obstacles as teens today are trying to balance their identity on both in-person levels and virtual platforms. When you throw in cancel culture and some digital trends that Cody mentioned, like sexting, and how just to know how to appropriately engage with people virtually, and you couple this together with a growing threat of gender confusion, and actually then knowing which social justice movement to get behind and why, it's no surprise to me that Cody believes that what our teens need most from you as their parent is for you to be present and engaged in their lives. See, a couple solid resources for you as parents would be the book Faith for Exiles by David Kinnaman and Mark Matlock, as well as the free culture translator that gets emailed each week to parents so that they can stay up to date on what is going on in youth culture. And you can access that culture translator from www.axis.org. If you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, feel free to send me an email. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.